When I was 20, I thought I was invisible. No. When I was 20, I thought I was invincible.
Twist. Yes.
10 years later, things look a little different. Welcome to Seaweed Hour, where we're building gentler and more joyous ways of living through intention and reflection. So, why did I need to slow down before I turned 30? The short answer is I had a lot of anxiety and stress and pain and injuries that started to accumulate. And I didn't want to live like that. And now I'm at a place where I'm managing in different capacities and trying to live a more joyful and easeful life. Living my life to its truest potential. A few years ago, I read this book, The Myth of Normal. I have it also, by Gabor Mate. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He talks about the correlation between like stress, people pleasing, and like chronic illnesses or cancer. After reading that book, I did notice how like a lot of stresses do end up like translating into inflammation in my body. Is the body going, no, stop, help me, please stop. Across the 10 years, there were various incidences that have led to how I live my life today. If you'd like to know how I got here, it's time for story time. I have no jingle. Story time. This might be you. Always trying to fill up your schedule with like the next thing. Filling your time with like different things so that you feel like you are doing something and are worthy of love. Or just like a useful human being. Nothing can really quiet the voice inside you that says, you're not doing enough, you're not doing good enough. You need to do more, you need to do more, you will be left behind. When I was 20, I just moved to Melbourne for my Bachelor of Fine Arts in Acting and Theatre Making. Being in drama school in Australia got me to confront like who I was in a different space. In a new environment, you might find, your sense of self-worth in people's validation, in your accomplishments, in how busy you are. And that was me at 20. In my head, I had like 5 years to make something of myself. I had ambition, places to be, dreams to fulfill, things to do. I also developed this kind of sense of like, I'm wasting money if I don't achieve something. The birds are chirping. Like, I need to utilize every single second of my day, going for different classes, making sure I am at every single workshop. It was funny because it came to a point where I would message a close friend of mine and I'll ask her, hey, guess what I'm doing? She's like, what? And I'm like, I'm rushing for the tram again. There's a trams. There were trams in Melbourne and I was always rushing for them. As much as this new chapter of my life was very exciting, I was highly anxious. But fortune favors the bold. My efforts did pay off. I was gonna get a main stage gig in the year of 2020 and had some cool things lined up. But as we all know what happened in that year. Shows cancelled, income lost, sense of purpose gone. But at that time, I came across this book. Ding, 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 ding. This book has been talked about so much. This is actually not mine. I bought this from my mom for her birthday and I've kind of stolen it. Not stolen it, I've borrowed it indefinitely. Julia Cameron talks about morning pages and I started doing those and that allowed me to slow down for the first time in a while. It allowed me to reflect like, hey, my gigs have been cancelled. But at that time, I was like, wow, I still have a roof over my head. I am not currently sick. I wasn't currently sick then. I was relatively safe considering the circumstances and I was okay. And oddly enough, this kind of sense of overwhelming peace kind of came over me for the first time in like 5 years, I would say. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't felt this, like, calmness in a while. It was kind of strange. Very nice. Yeah. That was the first time I sort of... It sort of clicked in terms of what pausing and slowing down could do. It was a forced slowdown, though. The good news was... I was very fortunate that I still had some gigs. Some of my projects were cancelled, but some of them I was able to do them remotely. I was fortunate enough to get some funding to do a show of mine that actually won some awards, if you can. But that's not important because actually, it's about the process and what you learned and joy and connection. I stayed in Australia for the next 2 years. But after that, I decided to head back to Singapore because I was kind of homesick, was also highly anxious and just needed some grounding also because I had a heartbreak at that time. So I was back in Singapore at the age of 26 in 2022. And after about half a year, working with this company, my friend's company, coming back slowly, not trying to rush anything, I decided, okay, it's time for me to take the theatre world by storm again and hustle in the legal way. But life had other plans for me. Life had other plans.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I tore my ACL. I was on crutches for 3 months. Couldn't accept any theatre gigs. Couldn't really go for auditions as well. As someone who was like highly physical, I felt like I lost a part of myself. But during those months, as I was on crutches and had to physically be really slow, like I could not walk faster than what my body allowed me to. Again, I felt this strange sense of peace, not from the situation because I hated it. I think the act of physically slowing down really allowed me to calm down as well. I started to think about how I could create an environment to support the needs that I have. At that time, it was my mobility needs. Because, like, just one small little error or slip up or mistake or accident can feel like it derails your life. But when it does happen, and having gone through that, I realized, hey, like, I could adjust how I worked and advocate for my needs so that I could continue operating in the way that I wanted to. At that time, I was working with Artwave, and we were doing this interactive exhibition called the Self Compassion Lab, and it was an interactive exhibition that looked at what youth creatives needed to do their best work. It was kind of my dream project at the time, thinking about care and self compassion, because I mean, I think in a selfish or self serving way, I kind of needed it. After the injury, starting to realize that, hey, beating myself up didn't really help the situation, didn't help me heal better. The Self Compassion Lab really gave me the space to consider what if I was kinder to myself. I think that was kind of the first real perspective shift in terms of my sense of self and self-worth. It was also a continuation of the act of slowing down, which didn't really happen until a few, like 2 more incidences. For those who have torn out ACL before, one of, I guess, your biggest worry or fear is that if you tear it again. So one day I woke up with a swollen knee on the same ACL knee. My new ACL is called Jeremy, by the way, if you were curious. So one day I woke up with a swollen knee. I didn't think I was doing anything too physical the day before, but I was hopping around like a bunny and a thief in a show. And I was also going to fly to Melbourne to do another show at the Melbourne Fringe the following week. So I was panicking. Thankfully, it was not a torn ACL, but I tore my cartilage. It was like a partial tear, it's not really big, but it was causing a problem. I know some people say that when you hit 25, it just goes downhill, or when you hit 30, it goes downhill. I don't claim it. That's not gonna be me. No, we should not aspire for that. That should not be the norm. So now we're in 2024, and there was one day I woke up with a frozen back. I just had a lot of tension in my back, like tight. Could not really move, and it hurt to like get up. At the time, I was playing a dolphin with scoliosis. The irony is not lost on me. I had to move like this, like a wave. What helped was drugs. Anorex, to be specific, a muscle relaxant. You need to get it prescribed. So if you ever have some tightness in your back, go speak to a GP and maybe get some Anorex. But don't over rely. And I think after those incidences, I start to see a pattern, right? A pattern of overworking, stress correlating to pain in my body, or being more injury prone. And as someone who wants to continue being physical and active in the rest of her life as much as possible, because it is also my job, right? So I did have to find a different way of being, a different way of treating myself, and building a life that is sustainable and kind for the work that I want to do. And as I turn 30 this year, I think this is also a reminder for myself to slow down, because if not, your body will tell you no. And also, hopefully, as I share my thoughts and my stories, it's a reminder for you to slow down as well, because it's really not worth it lah when you get injured and when you feel stressed. Like, life is to be lived, is to be enjoyed, is to love, is to be in relationship with people around you and the world around you. So why not treat yourself kindly, slow down so that you have space to do all of that? Yeah, that sounds good, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And I want to continue to reflect in this way and share my reflections, because this also helps me, and continue building a gentler, more joyous life for myself. And if that is you, if that is what you would like to, please give a like, give a subscribe, and follow me on this journey. Thank you for joining me at Seaweed Hour. See you in the next one. Bye.